Good morning, everybody. We're live on Facebook. I have Linda Bauer and Dawn Parks
Morning.
with us today. So good morning. This is
Hey,
great.
everybody. We're so excited. Go ahead, Liz.
No, you go ahead. I'm sitting here and I see the live button. I just want to jump in sometimes. Dawn does all the technical stuff, so I give her a minute while I say hello to everybody. So we are excited today to have Linda Bauer with Up Level Financial talking about a topic that's really important, right? You can't finance retirement. So let's go ahead and talk about the Great Resignation, remind everybody what it's about. So Dawn, go ahead. I'll hand it over to you for a minute.
Great. So the Great Resignation conversation, this is a really big topic that's happening, especially for women right now. There are so many women that are choosing to leave the workforce after we've had the opportunity to work inside of COVID, where we could work part at home or full-time at home. A lot of people began rethinking their priorities and how hard they wanted to work. And we actually didn't think that we could work from home and still be productive. And especially now, as we're coming into the holidays and people are remembering how great it was to be around the family all the time, people are thinking even harder right now about making the big shift, even in January, right? We'll get through the holidays. And then in January, I'm going to make a jump. I'm going to make a big shift. I'm going to make a big change. And, go you. We are all about it. If you are ready to make a big change, we think it's powerful and we believe in you. And we're not here to convince you one way or another what you ought to do. But one thing we have learned, Liz and I have learned, and Linda has learned, and a lot of the guests that we have, while we weren't part of the Great Resignation, as they're calling it now, we did make decisions to go out on our own and start our own businesses. And we have learned a lot in that process about what you need to think about when you jump. And the jumping part is important, but so is planning, or at least understanding what the downstream impacts can be on your life with your family, your finances, how you're going to get things done. And so we're all here to support you in thinking it through, or thinking it through enough so that you are making a decision based on some facts so that you know what to expect. And some of us, it's an emotional issue. Some of it's related to family, because we might be turning our family inside out and upside down when we make a big change. And sometimes it's thinking about retirement. Sometimes it's about making a big transition of working from home and time management, or what are the skills that you need. So anyway, the whole reason we're here every day right now is to have you start thinking about what haven't I thought about yet? You have a big dream about making the big jump, but let's make sure we put some facts and figures and some structure around it so that you can be successful. So Liz and I can help you get your North Star, figure out how much is enough, get you on the yellow brick road like Dorothy did for her dreams of going home, whatever your new home is. And today Linda is here to talk with us about you can't take a loan out for retirement. And that always gives me chills, right? So anyway, so Liz and I started Shimula a couple of years ago, and we have really been working with women to reinvent their relationship to money, especially as it's related to their career or if they're starting a new business. So I'm going to have Linda, Liz, is there something you want to say to get us rolling? And then Linda, we're just going to talk about what's your experience as a financial advisor. So Liz, what would you like to say?
Yeah, when I was in the financial industry, there's always kind of a struggle when it comes to money. And sometimes there's competing priorities. And people would say, oh my gosh, it's really important to me to fund my kids' education and go ahead and fund my retirement. But then they feel conflicted sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the big sayings is you can never, really take a loan out for your retirement, right? You can take a loan out for a lot of things, but one of the things that you really can't do is take a loan out for retirement. There's many different ways to get there. And Linda's here to talk about one of those ways. So we really are grateful that you're here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Such an exciting topic. I mean, people are always working on balancing their lives and their future and their in the present and in the future, and trying to figure out, what do I do and how do I make this all happen? So I appreciate being here to be able to talk a little bit about that, so we can get people maybe just thinking and understanding what all the considerations are when you decide to make a big shift in your life. What do you have to think about? So,
Right, right. You know, because one of the things I want to make sure everybody remembers is Liz and I are not financial advisors, and we don't play financial advisors on TV. We don't pretend to be financial advisors, which is why we have people like Linda on board who actually know how to provide guidance. And Linda, if you could share a little bit about the nature of your role and as a fiduciary, and how far you're allowed to talk with us today, right, before it crosses some line. I think it's important for people to understand that. And it's important, if you don't have a financial advisor, for people to understand these distinctions. So let's just take a minute and have people know that before we jump into this conversation about you can't take a loan out for your retirement.
great. Well, let me tell you a little bit about UpLevel. UpLevel
Yeah.
is my company. I have created UpLevel to work primarily with women in business and women who are busy. So we all have our lives. We roll with the punches. We've got family, friends, church, business, all these priorities, but you know, the finances sometimes or very often take a back seat because it's not something that we're interested in. The statements come in, we look at them, we go, oh, okay, and put them aside, and that's it. So I want to be the advocate for busy women and women in business to make sure that they're hitting all of their goals and setting priorities that make sense for their future. Like you just said, you can take out a retirement for a lot of things, or take out a loan for a lot of things, but nobody's going to give you a loan to retire. So crucially important. As a financial advisor and as a fiduciary, I am legally bound to put to put my client's best interests 100% ahead of my own. So I had to pass an exam to do that, and I can be registered in any state now because of that exam. And so my boundaries are limitless when it comes to wherever you are.
That's good news.
Yes, I'm excited because, you know, in this virtual world, how exciting is it to be able to help someone who is in Pennsylvania or Florida or Texas, you name it. And now in this virtual world, we can screen share, we can talk, and then hit a button and be right back jumping on the bed with the kids, or at the office, moving on to the next meeting without travel time and you know, waiting for the meeting time. So it's very, very exciting. But I am limited on how much I can talk about what to use to invest with. I can't make any of those suggestions because there's too many moving pieces. I need to know somebody's risk tolerance. I have to know the spectrum of what they're already invested in. So, you know, I wouldn't want to tell somebody to invest in X when they already have a bunch of X. So on a live event like this, I really am legally bound to not do that, because it is in your best interest to sit down with your financial advisor and discuss face-to-face the details of exactly how you're going to invest.
Okay, great. So you're not going to say everybody should be in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or something like that, but you would say, you know, you should talk to your advisor about whether or not it's the right move for you, because there's lots of options that are out there.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, and I don't know, you know, there are certain times where it might be extremely interesting to invest in pork rinds, right? but I don't know your risk tolerance and whether, the pork rind industry is going to tank and you're going to lose everything. So I can't talk about that.
Right. But what you can talk about is strategy, how the importance of strategies, right? So when you think about, when someone is thinking about leaving their corporate environment, right? They've been putting money, hopefully they have been at least getting the match from their corporate environment, right? Which is free money, correct? It's free money. So you guys, if you're not invested in your 401k and you're not getting the free match, I think everybody on the planet would say, make sure you're doing that. Free money is free money.
If I can quickly interject there and make a comment. So what's interesting about the match, not only does the company and the organization expect to give it to you, so it's already calculated into your salary, right? They know what it's going to cost to have you working for them. So you're giving money back to them if you're not taking it. But another thing from my point of view, if it's a dollar for dollar match, that is immediate 100% return. I can't do that for you. And if you've run into somebody who says they can do that for you, hightail it right out of there. And then it's the same with the 50% match. If it's going to be 50 cents for every dollar you put in, you put it up to the maximum, because again, that immediate return on your investment is something that I cannot do for you. So take it.
I'm putting that into the chat. So if it looks like I'm typing, I am.
You know what, Linda, that is so important. And I would love to give examples, but I really can't. But there are people that go, I didn't think I'd work there that long. So I wasn't going to do my 401k. I wasn't going to. And then I'm talking to them, potentially doing different classes or workshops or strategy things. And they're like, they still weren't doing it, but they'd been there 8 years.
Right.
And it just breaks my heart, because that's the first thing you can do is get 100% return by just accepting that match.
Right.
Exactly. Get started right away. I mean, it's no skin off your back if you can't take it with you when you leave, but you can take the money that you have saved when you leave. You've got that big of a head start. And like Liz just said, if you have to be there for 3 years to be vested in the amount of money that the company is giving you, take a look at the last 2 years. How quickly has 2 years gone since we've been dealing with COVID? It's been lickety split. It's gone quick. So before you know it, you could easily be with a company for 3 years and suddenly you're vested and you've got this big amount of money from 3 years that is yours.
And let me go ahead and share this with you. I was really surprised. I had several friends I caught up with last night who are just taking on new jobs. And because employers are so hungry to get employees to work there, you can tell what they're trying to do, attract employees or retain employees based on their, benefit strategies, especially the financial ones. 100% fully vested right off the bat.
I know. I've been seeing that too. It's crazy. And it's exciting.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is really exciting.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, especially for young people who are starting out. I really want to encourage you, reach out to me if you don't have anyone else to talk to. I would be more than happy to do a phone call with you and talk to you about the benefits. So don't hesitate. Uplevelfinancial.com. You can send me a message and I'll give you a call.
But Linda, what this reminds me of is that if you're thinking about joining the Great Resignation and you think it's going to be maybe 6 months, like if you start to work on a plan, if you have, now would be the time to put as much as is possible to the match. So if you haven't been putting in enough, as much as you can to get the match, make sure you're doing that for the amount of time you think you're going to be at that company. Don't squirrel it, right? But
it's never too late.
Never too late. I think people think, oh my God, it's too late. It's not too late. especially the way the market's been, right? The market.
It's
now-
not too late to start now. You're gonna, have money that you didn't have before. Another thing that I always like to remind people is the past is a good teacher. So learn and move forward.
So say more about that, Linda.
Well, regrets. So you just mentioned if you haven't been maxing out, don't regret it and not move forward. Look at it as a teaching moment. Oh, well, this and this would have happened if I had invested, sure. But now what will happen if you start today moving forward? So it's a great learning moment to look and see what has happened and what the consequences are to make sure that you do better going forward. It's a great teacher.
Okay, cool.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you work with a lot of women business owners, is that correct, Linda?
Yeah, I do.
So
do.
when somebody's thinking about leaving the corporate world and going out on their own and maybe
Mhm.
launching a business or opening a consulting thing, what's some of the helpful hints that you can give them with regards to strategy? Because when they're working at their corporate job, if they've been doing this, it's pretty easy because they get paid, every week, every 2 weeks,
Right.
once a month, and the
Right.
money's already taken out for their retirement.
Yes.
What are some best practices or tips that you can give?
Well, it really depends on what direction you're going. So if you're going to be a solopreneur, or if you're going to have people working with you in a corporation, if you're stepping out to join another organization, there's a lot of different ways that you can continue to invest in your future to save for retirement. So there are many different options of retirement plans that you can pick. And what I like to do is sit down with an accountant to review cash flow, not only your personal, but the business cash flow, to see what is the best tax advantaged benefit to saving in, whether it's a SEP IRA or a solo 401k or some of the other, it doesn't matter. There's different amounts of money that you can save, which is more than in a traditional IRA because you're self-employed, so you don't have that match. So you have to be able to take a good look at your cash flow to see, first of all, personally, do I need the tax deduction, or does my company need the tax deduction to get money off of the books and into my retirement account? So there's a lot of back and forth that you can do in order to maximize a strategy to plan for your future. Again, make sure you sit down and talk to your financial advisor and your tax advisor around these choices that you have, because it really depends on your personal income, cash flow, business strategy in order to maximize it and get the best that you can out of it. And you can do that.
It sure seems like you need to, there's a trajectory you would look at, right? You would look to see if you were to stay in the company and continue at the rate that you're going, right? You can see, I've got 10 more years or 20 more years to retirement, and this is how much I would need. And a lot of people might think, well, in my business, I think I can probably generate that, right, through revenues and some of these different tools. But what are some of the other kinds of things that like a tactic to, or some evaluation that they should do? Let's say they're not working with an accountant. What would you say? Is there a formula? Is there a website they can go to kind of make a projection on? So I want them to have, the point is I want them to make sure they have some facts. And not everybody has an accountant right yet who can do that work for them. Is there a place to go, or do they need to talk to a human being who's got the expertise?
Can we
think that
clarify what you're asking for? Are you looking for by the time you're 30, you should have so much saved? Or are you talking about a strategy to put in the plan? Like, there's a bunch of different formulas out there, so I'm just kind of curious.
Well,
Yeah,
because what
it's
I'm thinking about is if someone's thinking about leaving the corporate world to start their
Mhm.
own company, which is very exciting to do, right? And Linda says you can't take a loan out. So if we were to think, you almost have to think backwards. Like we can't predict how much money we're going to need, but if, you know, it's almost like you need a multi-pronged strategy. So it's not just about retirement, right? It's about thinking about all of the cash that needs to come into your life to make sure you're ready. Here's the thing. I read an article the other day that said, if you are alive in 2030, it doesn't matter if you're 6 years old in 2030 or you're 60 years old in 2030, there's a 75% chance you'll live to be 100.
Mhm.
So that means in 2030, like a whole bunch of people are going to be on this trajectory to live to 100. And none of us, at least in our age group, I don't think we've been planning that financially.
Right, right.
Because life expectancy has been 88 for women for a long time, and that's longer than men. And that's what financial advisors and planners have been using is,
Mhm,
the life expectancy put together by insurance
mhm,
agencies
mhm.
and actuaries.
Right. So, I have some financial planning tools as a financial planner that I can use to put your personal information in and run some scenarios that vary depending on market return in order to project where you would be in 10, 20, 30 years, depending on the amount of money that you are putting away to plan for that. It's a little bit complicated. There's a lot of information that goes into these tools, and it can take an individual quite a bit of time to answer those questions, and then it takes a lot of time to create that plan. Those are really interesting to have for yourself if you're planning on making a huge change, to see and understand what that change how it might affect your life financially, because you're now maybe not able to put as much away because you're doing your own thing, to see how that account that you've already have, that nest egg that you already have. So you might, as a new entrepreneur, put the savings for retirement on hold.
That just gave you the chills, didn't it? Right?
But I completely understand, yes, and they keep coming. But I can completely understand that you're like, well, I've got kids, I have to clothe and feed them. I have to keep the roof over their heads and the lights on. So there might be a moment, but okay, so let's put it on hold and take a look at this and project it out, in 10 years, if we don't touch it. And there is a very, very simple calculation. And Dawn, we've talked about this, so maybe this is the one that you were thinking of. So there's a projection, a very simple calculation called the rule of 72.
Mhm.
So we'll do just really, really simple numbers. You have $100,000 saved. We're going to project out that, over the next 10 years, you get an 8% return on that $100,000. And by the rule of 72, that means that in 9 years, that $100,000 would be $200,000. So it would take 9 years to double your money at an 8% return. So it is 72, the rule of 72, divided by the number of the return that you are projecting. So 72 divided by 8 equals the years to double your money. So in this example, 9. So if you're planning on making this huge jump and change and you're going to put a hold on retirement, God forbid it's 9 or 10 years, but it will give you just a general indication of what likely is to happen to that money if you don't put any more in, if you're, are getting just an average of 8%. And I do want to say over the last few years, we were getting way, 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 way more than 8%.
Mhm.
So, but 8% is always a good goal. Where are you going to be if you use all of your income right now to clothe and feed your kids, keep a roof over their head, and keep the lights on?
And some of it is that they can sell a business. If they're building a business and it's a product, or if it's a certain service that is sellable later on down the road, that somebody can come in and either buy the book or they buy the product, they buy out, that is also, or real estate if they've had rental property. That's
Right.
another way to infuse retirement at once.
Yeah, sure. And, we can take all of that into consideration, but you're not going to know the dollar amount of
Sure.
real estate in 10 years. I mean, look at what has happened to real estate here over just the last few years. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Who would have?
But we've
who would
also
know?
seen it go into the tank, right? With people
2008,
being upside
10.
down. So
2008, 9, 10. Yep.
Mhm.
So, it's really hard. That's a great thought, but you can't put a dollar amount really.
Yeah, it's hard to predict.
It's hard to protect. So
Mhm.
the rule of 72 is an 8%. Even over the last 20 years, the average has been 8% or better. Even with our 2008, 2009, 2010, scary time.
Right.
We're still at an average of 8% at least.
Well, we've just got 2 minutes left in our 30 minutes, but there's one thing that this whole conversation reminds me of that we talk about quite often, Linda, is when you're making this shift, if you're going to make the jump into the Great Resignation, and from a financial perspective and planning, you have to really rethink money in a whole new way. So it's not just, you can't take a loan out for retirement, but there's wants versus needs. And when you are when you're going to hit that runway, right? The runway is going to be longer than you expect financially to get things up and running. There's always hidden costs to starting a new business. And when you have that lack of guaranteed income, you really need to be preparing for what's going to happen at your house. So you have to start thinking about how do you have it all and what do you not need now? Like, do you have to have Netflix? What are the things where you need to start, do you need to be saving for putting money into a 529 for your kids' college when you're not sure that you'll have enough money for retirement at this point? So
that's a good thing to put a break on. That's a good thing to put a full stop on. God forbid you haven't saved enough for your future, but you've saved enough to pay for your children's education. That's a very nice thought, but it is not something that you have to do.
Right. And I think that with what Liz and I can work with you to identify the plan and figure out what you need, what you don't need, to do the financial planning parts of it as part of your roadmap and your vision. And then we bring in experts like Linda, who can work with you one-on-one to create the last stages of the plan where you actually make your investment. But I think it's really important that if you're thinking about the Great Resignation, you put some boots on the ground to understand what it's going to take financially, emotionally. Liz and I can work with you very closely. Liz is great at the emotional conversation that comes up. What are the things that have to change? How do you not blow up your whole family at the same time as you're pursuing your dream? So I just wanted to say to everybody, thanks, Linda, for being here, and Liz for being my partner and bringing the Great Resignation conversation to life. You can check out Linda at uplevelfinancial.com, and Liz and I are at shimula.com. Check out our courses. Linda has tons of information, and we'd love to be able to support you in having yourself be extraordinarily
Absolutely.
successful. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Linda. We'll have you on
Thank you,
again.
Linda.
Conversation
Absolutely.
with
We all
you.
need to work together to help each other. That's something that we've learned over the last 2 years, right? Is we can't do it alone.
You
Right.
can't,
Right, and especially
nor do you
since
have to.
And you
Yeah.
don't have to. That's right.
And especially since so many of us weren't trained in a lot of the financial things, and we were embarrassed. We don't even know where to talk about it without feeling stupid. At least that's my
Yeah.
conversation, right?
No
So
need.
No judgment about money.
No judgment.
Shimula.
put your cape on and become the hero of your own life. All
That's
right,
right.
we will see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, and I'm going to sign us off from all of our sites. So hold tight, ladies.